Two guys in the dark.
This story begins on Saturday night at the corner of Devonshire and Rashada Boulevard. This was in San Fernando Valley. During this time, this is where the street racers and groupies are meeting before they go off and race. Anyways, I've got my white 72 Trans Am. I'm cruising the lot, looking for somebody to race. It's not as easy as it sounds, since I have to find someone who doesn't know me, or at least doesn't know of my car. That's the way of street racing. You can get races easily if nobody knows how fast your car is. Unless it's slow, in which case you can get more races than you can possibly win. But in this case, my car is somewhat known, but might have skipped the recognition of someone. So I'm walking between all of the cars, asking the owners of various fast-looking cars if they would care to indulge in a speed contest. Most of the people that I would ask to race see me making my way between cars towards them, and then they shake their heads before I'm within speaking distance. Anyways, I'm becoming resigned to the fact that I'm already known and not going to get an easy race tonight. So now I start thinking about stage 2, which is giving up some car lengths. That means, for those of you not familiar with this sort of thing, a handicap start, giving the slower car a certain number of car lengths distance ahead start into the quarter. I was just trying to figure out how many car lengths that I could safely give different cars in the lot, when I suddenly hear a rumbling and a whine coming closer to me. The rumbling is just your standard over-cammed, headered race car, but the whine is something that is not common in this area. It's a blower. I turn around, and sure enough, it's Dean, and a judge, with a big block Oldsmobile motor, and a 671 GMC supercharger sticking through the hood. Instantly, I move in direction. I want to get to him before anyone else has a chance to talk to him, and maybe tell him how fast my car just might be. Anyways, I get to him before his car is stopped, and hit on him for a race while he's getting out. His response is something about having no gear. I feel encouraged, since he didn't actually say no. Having no gear means he doesn't have a low rear end ratio, and therefore cannot leave the line, at least very well. So I think a bit, not wanting to let the only race that I might have tonight slip through my fingers. I suggest that we go from a roll. He talks to a buddy of his, and then asks how fast to roll. I'm feeling great now, because when the race discussions get this far, I can usually give up a few cars, or be flexible on the money, or whatever, and get a race. Plus, going from a roll is the kind of start where my car runs its best. Back to the race discussion. I answer, what speed roll do you think is fair? He talks with his group yet again, and says about 30 miles per hour with a shortened quarter. I'm jumping inside, itching to actually get to the race spot, and do it, thinking that I couldn't ask for better conditions. But I control myself, and ask for the go. The one who gets the start first, when that's agreed to. He says no way, and I say, but look at that thing sticking through your hood. That's ultimate horsepower. He comes back with some people who have been talking to me about the car, and I don't know if it's such a good idea to race you. I get panic-stricken. This is just what I was afraid of. I can just see the negotiations falling apart, and going home without having raced anyone tonight. So I tell him real quick, you can have one of your people on the side start us by dropping his arm. That's fair, isn't it? He said, I guess so, and then asked me, how much do you want to run for? I say, whatever your usual race for. He asks his buddy if he's got some money to put in. They talk some more, and finally he asks, is $100 okay? I tell him, sure. Where do you want to do it? He says, how about Layson and Winnica? I'm thinking that the street he's chosen doesn't have very much shutdown distance, and I know we'll be going pretty fast since we are starting from a roll, but I don't want to rock the boat at this late stage. I know it wouldn't take much to have him get back out of the race, so I just tell him that street is okay with me. About the time the outer fringes of this group, probably about 10 deep, had been surrounding the race negotiations from the start. They start running to their cars. I tell them no caravans, which means that the whole string of cars should not single file going to the race spot, since the police would either be in cars or helicopters, and would know what was going on. I start walking back to my car so I can leave, but I am stopped a couple of times by people asking what my chances of winning are, because they want to make some side bets. I say something like, I think my chances are pretty good, but then Dean probably thinks the same of his chances. But that was enough for them, and they ran off to their cars, yelling side bets, at the top of their lungs. I get into my car. I hope that my solenoids haven't been leaking, because the engine might backfire violently. And that would be a dead giveaway that I was using nitrous. I mean, everyone knows I'm on the bottle. In fact, my nickname is Bottle Bob. But as long as there is a plausible deniability that this particular car is using nitrous, there will always be a slight amount of doubt, and I'll be able to use that sometimes in my favor. Anyways, the engine starts without any mishaps. I drive out of the lot going west down Devonshire. I turn left on Wilbur since there are a few razors in front of me, and I don't want to caravan, especially since I yelled to everyone else about not doing it. When I get to Leysen, I turn right, and just while I'm turning, I see on the next big street south what appears to be a black and white. But I'm not too worried since almost nobody drove that way, so I don't think that he would be alerted. The rest of the drive to the area is uneventful except for right at the race spot. At the race spot, there is the usual mass confusion of cars turning around to find a choice place to watch from. Some cars dropping people off so that they can watch the start, some being dropped off at the finish line, and so on with cars strung out all along one side of the street. There's a couple of newcomers to this particular race spot, parking on the same side of the street that we're going to race on, and almost simultaneously, people yelling at them to move their cars while calling them idiots, and worse off. Those poor guys probably didn't know, and probably don't deserve all that verbal abuse, but I've got my own worries to worry about. I drive up to the start area. Dean is letting air out of his tires, so I get out and start to do the same. Letting air out makes more of the tire rubber contact the road for better traction, even if we were only on street tires. When I'm done, I go over to Dean's group. He picks someone to start us, and I have him show me exactly how he's going to do it. After that, I ask him who is going to hold the money. He says, Bill will. I say, he's in your group. Let somebody more neutral, like Juan, hold it. He says, okay. Let's speed this up. I don't want to be here all night. While we're giving the money to him to hold on to, I said that we'll go to the other side of the light, turn around. I'll match your speed until we get to the start. He says, okay, let's do it. We go to our cars, get in. I'm excited now. I can't even find my keys. I'm checking my pockets, but I come up empty. Oh, they were in the ignition the whole time. So I get it started, drive across the light, and turn around. Dean has already stopped at the light. It happens to be red at this time. I'm back about 4 cars, so I stop, put my foot on the brake, and then push the gas. Makes the rear tire spin with the car standing still. It heats up the tires and aids up the traction. There's a massive tire smoke. I don't even see the street behind me. I pull up to the light just as it changes. I start to go across when about that same time I hear this horrendous roar and blower whine noise almost out of hearing range, and see Dean's car pass right next to me with smoke just pouring off of his rear tires. He puts on his brakes, slows down. I'm thinking that was an obscene display of horsepower, and that maybe this is going to be more of a race than I thought. As I'm thinking this, I've pulled up even with him, and I'm going about 25 miles per hour. We're still about 100 feet from the start when he speeds up to about 30 and holds it there. I line up with him. Now we're almost to the start. I'm gripping the wheel like I was going to squeeze it to death. I've got my thumb poised over the horn, ready to mash it on. The horn button is my nitrous switch. This one is my own. It's putting about 400 to 450 horses over and above what the engine is putting out. I call it my 4-pound bonsai, because it uses 4 pounds of nitrous per pass. My engine is pretty strong. It's a Pontiac 455 block with a forged 428 crank, which makes it about 440 cu. Forged pistons, ported 455 head with the largest valves that will fit in them, and 850 Holly that I spent days grinding and polishing the inlet and throttle bores. We're both even, going the same speed, and I'm in a trance, staring at the starter's uprising arm. At the smallest muscle twitch, I'm going to hit that gas. Is that it? Did he move it? Not yet. This is where he's moved for sure. As I'm thinking this, my foot hasn't automatically stomped on the gas, and my front end lifts at the same time as Dean's. My tires are spinning, but not badly. I hear the blower whine start to rise in frequency until it's screaming, and he's right beside me. A thought passes through my mind that if that blower explodes, I could be impaled by flying shrapnel. I then short shift into second gear. Short shifting is basically right before you red line. I do it so that I can hit the nitrous sooner. As soon as I shift, he pulls ahead about half a car length. I'm asking myself if I should hit the juice early. Wait a little bit longer, I tell myself, just until the tires are hooked up better. Now he's about 3/4 lengths ahead of me. I'm hooked up, and I hit the horn button. It instantly goes to the red line, but the car is accelerating quicker than it has before. His lead drops to about 1/4. Then we're even, but I'm moving faster. I put about half a car length on him, and my motor is screaming. I get off the button and shift a third, then get back on that button. He shoots ahead half a car when I had to get off the button to shift. Now it's just a matter of out-mile-per-houring him in high gear, which is exactly what's happening because we're about even now, but I'm moving faster. The longer that I'm running, the faster I'm going, in relation to Dean's car at least. I've got about a car on him, and I can see the parking lights of the finish line car on the other side of the road about 300 feet ahead of me. Unless something breaks, I've got it made. I see the people at the finish line now. They're waving their arms and giving me thumbs up. It's over. I've won. I'm coasting, slowing down, but I don't like to hit the brakes real hard at the end if I don't have to. By now I've slowed down enough to turn around. I look for Dean's car. I see him about 10 cars back, turning around, so I start to make my turn. I've turned and just started driving back to the start when I see red lights flashing, coming my way pretty fast. That's when you get this fear, ball and pit in your stomach. I try to ignore that and turn the wheel, hit the gas at the same time. The car spins around, just right, and I'm headed in the same direction as I was during the race. The cop is about 300 feet behind me, but moving real fast. As soon as I'm in second gear, I hit the juice again. I get off it, hit the brakes for the street coming up. I can pretty well see both directions and don't see any car lights, so I hit it again. The cop is slowing down a little for the street. I guess he hasn't hit his sirens yet. I'm about 500 feet ahead of him and rapidly stretching my lead. Now I hear the siren, but this time I'm well over 100 miles per hour and coming up to Devonshire pretty fast, so I try to slow down. What I would like to do is something like a 50-mile-an-hour four-wheel drift around the corner and head east, so I go to the wrong side of the street. I'm on to cut it real wide. It looks like my plan is working. The car is sliding real nice, but then the rear of the car keeps on sliding around. This car does not handle anything like a Corvette. Lots of screeching, rubber noises, tire marks all over the place. I'm thinking that's it. This dude's got me. It's all over. I'm picturing my car being impounded, me being impounded, having to pay some outrageous speed contest ticket and evading arrest ticket. When the car finally stops moving, I see that I'm on the eastbound lanes, but facing west, plus the cop is still a long way back there. Another bonus is that my engine is still running, so I just put it in low and hit the gas. I take off, as if I had planned it that way all the time. There is very little traffic this time of the morning. I'm really pushing my car. It's overheating, plus I smell burning oil. Anyways, I start slowing down. I know that I can't keep going in one direction, or they'll get me. DeSoto Street is coming up. I decide to turn there. My heart rate is slowing down, and I'm semi-out of danger. I can't see or hear the cops anymore. I figured that he just gave up the chase. Anyways, I'm just going about normal speed when I get in the left lane to head south. Lucky me, the light just changed my way as I was coming up to it, so I'm making my turn when I notice a black and white in the northbound left lane. I continue my turn nice and easy and try to make myself invisible, like I don't even exist. I'm not really here. I'm in bed at home. But none of that worked, because I see the black and white pull up out of the left lane and turn on his lights. I still hope that he might be going after someone else, until I see him make a U-turn in front of all of the left turn cars and head the same direction that I'm going. Nothing to do but hit the gas, and then the nitrous, which is what I do. After getting a couple blocks leads on him, I start thinking about turning. I slide around a corner, being careful not to have to repeat of the slide in Devonshire. I accelerate a few blocks, and then I turn the acceleration down a little. I do that a couple more times, and then I slow down, since I'll probably draw more attention to myself by going really fast. I find that I'm on Nordhoff Street, heading east. Just then I see a police helicopter flying from the direction of Van Nuys to about where I lost the second cop. It made me real nervous since it flew almost directly over me. I just keep driving slow, and I think, I know I can't keep driving this car, or they'll just pick me off. So I pull into the pay parking lot at some college. Nobody around, and there are very few cars. I park next to a Mazda, grab a rag out of the back seat, and start wiping my steering wheel, gear shift, all of that. This is just in case I might want to say my car was stolen, and I had not driven it. Then I locked it up, started walking away. The poor car was still steaming loudly as I left it. I then took off my glasses, just in case the second cop had got a good look at me. I hitchhiked while I was walking, and got a ride before I got a mile. He took me to my door, when I told some of what had just taken place. I got into my wife's Volkswagen, and drove back to the lot, so that I could collect my winnings, and gloat a little bit about getting away from the cops. I pull into the lot. Nobody recognizes my wife's Volkswagen, since it's not that kind of car that I would bring out. I'm looking for a place to park. I guess people are wondering what I'm doing here with this car, since Volkswagens aren't really considered normal race cars. Well, when I finally found a parking place, I get out. Everybody cheers. I put up my clasped hands like I've won the heavyweight boxing title while they're cheering me on. That doesn't last very long. People start coming over to find out what happened. So I describe the chase in great detail. The whole group ooh and ahs at the crisis points. When I finish, and everyone has congratulated me for getting away and gone back to whatever they were doing, I go over to where Juan is. He shakes his head, saying they're going to get you real good one of these times. I tell him, who, me? Nah, they'll never catch me. But I do think I'll retire the Trans Am for a little while just to be on the safe side. He gives me the race money. Tells me that he thought he might be using this money to bail me out. I tell him, when I saw that helicopter flying right over me, I thought something along those lines myself, dude. Well, after some more bench racing bullshit, not lasting too long, I tell him I've got to go. I have to get up early tomorrow and go to work on the Corvette if I want to have anything to race with next week. They tell me so long, I hop back into the Volkswagen and putt on home. I get the Trans Am the next day with no problem. Went hunting for parts to fix the Vet, which is a lot faster anyways. That's about it. A night in the life of a street racer. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell for notifications on future videos, and become a stalker of the night. And I'll see you next time.